my channel, LuvvLori. So I want to start out this video by kind of explaining the hiatus that I just took. So, I mean, I'm sure you kind of are familiar with everything that's been going on, and kind of in solidarity to the Black Lives Matter movement and kind of all the really heavy things that are going on right now, it didn't really feel right to post a bunch of like personal nonsense. So I didn't, and I took some time to kind of like take a step back and reflect and read about what's going on and do what I can to help. So in light of that, I will have in the description box linked some places that you can donate if you're able to, and just some other resources that have been helpful to me in kind of trying to learn as much as I can about everything from an outsider's perspective, because I can't really understand what it's like to be personally affected by that. But I didn't want to not mention it, but just so you know, that's kind of where I've been, but I also didn't want to just kind of stay away indefinitely, and also I do see value in having an escape where you can kind of get away from all of the heaviness and just kind of like think about something a little bit lighter. So let's go ahead and get into today's video. Today I'm going to be going through some of my 2016 Sephora purchases. So I actually was not aware that you could go back in the app and like see all of your stuff that you've bought. So my order history goes back to 2016. Now I know the first time I ever bought makeup from Sephora was before 2016. So like I moved back from Germany to start college in the summer of 2015. I had made a couple of Sephora purchases. My sister had a Sephora like account before I did, so I would just make the purchases with her phone number. And I wasn't really super into makeup until probably around later 2015, early 2016. And then I started making purchases on my own account, and now this is where we are. So I thought it would be fun to see kind of how much my makeup tastes have changed. So I went through and grabbed a few things and kind of like wanted to reflect on how I feel about them now. So yeah, it just kind of seemed like a fun discussion. Let me know if you go back in your order history what maybe one of your first ever Sephora purchases was. I feel like that's kind of a fun thing to look at. I also probably have some pictures of like the era of my life when I used to wear this, and like any old photos I'm like. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first item is this Sephora Pro Full Coverage Foundation Brush. So I bought this in May 2016. Now the like Sephora Pro brush line is actually discontinued, I think, which is a darn shame because those brushes are fantastic. They were really good quality. They were kind of expensive. Probably about maybe a little bit cheaper than like IT Cosmetics brushes, but definitely on par with that quality, just like great brushes. And you can't get them anymore. There was a period of time where they were all like 50% off, but all the good shapes, like functional ones, kind of went quickly, so I wasn't able to get any. But yeah, those were some good brushes. So this one I liked. I think I ended up giving it to my sister just because she wanted it, and we do this thing all the time where we like trade our crap every time we see each other. So I gave it to her, but it was actually a really good brush. It was super, super dense, but very soft, and it wouldn't leave any streak marks. It was way too small for me for foundation, just because ain't nobody got time for that. Because it's, I mean, I'm thinking about how big the head was, maybe like that big. So not big enough for foundation for me, but I really liked using it for concealer under the eyes. So would I repurchase it? Yes, if given the opportunity to. But like I said, I can't, so. So next I've got the Kat Von D Lock-It Foundation, also a May 2016 purchase when apparently I was going a little nuts. So I had it in the shade Light 42. Which in hindsight was way too light for me. Like, I don't know who I thought I was. I am pretty fair, and I usually wear one of the lightest couple of shades in most foundation ranges, but like that was like, I looked way too pale in it. I looked ridiculous. And it was so heavy because it was so full coverage. There was like no forgiveness in the fact that I didn't pick the right shade. It was available for everybody to see that I didn't pick the right shade. And then, you know, when you wear a foundation that's way too light for you, you try to warm it up with bronzer, but then the color just looks wrong, and then you put on blush, and then you truly look like a clown because the contrast is so drastic and it looks so weird. And then it highlights absolutely every imperfection you have on your face rather than concealing anything at all because it's so light. That was that foundation on me. I swear, when I first bought it, I thought it looked good. I wore it, and then eventually I was like, WTF am I doing? And I stopped wearing it. But yeah, and then, I mean, that's not even to mention all the Kat Von D nonsense that's happened since 2016. I used to be a huge Kat Von D fan. She's like, or I used to think of her as a like badass tattooed Latina woman who just like does her thing. But I mean, I won't get into that in this video, but I wasn't buying Kat Von D anymore during all of that. And now it's Kat Vegan Beauty something or other, and she's not associated with the brand anymore. So have been buying Kat Von D again. But yeah, I used to be obsessed with the whole brand aesthetic and stuff, which is probably a huge part of the reason that I got that foundation, but no, wouldn't recommend. I don't even know if they still sell it, but if they do, I wouldn't get it if you have dry skin either. It like dries down super hard. Okay, so next, also in May of 2016, I bought a mini of the Urban Decay Anti-Aging Primer Potion. Now, that is a good eye primer. I like using eye primer. I think I do notice a difference in how bright my shadows go on and how long they stay on, although I don't have super oily eyelids or anything, but I still like to use it and I notice enough of a difference. But I tend to like ones that kind of cancel out some of the discoloration in my eyelids because I have like see-through eyelids where you can see some of the like purple veinage. So things with some kind of tint are better for me. So I actually haven't bought another one of those since then. I bought the Eden one and loved that one and used that for a very long time. That one is tinted. It's got kind of just like a pale skin tone tint to it. So I like using that one. I also like priming with concealer sometimes, but my current go-to is actually this Ulta Beauty matte eye primer in Nude. It's not super opaque like if you were priming with a concealer, or even as opaque as maybe the Urban Decay Eden, but it's got a slight tint to it, and I really like it. And it's, I think, $8 for this pretty large tube since you don't need much of it. So this is a really great eye primer. So in conclusion, no, not really gonna do a repurchase of the mini primer potion. So next, also in May of 2016, I purchased the Becca On The Glow highlighter set in Opal for $20. It was a little mini of the powder highlight in Opal and then a mini of the liquid highlight in Opal. So I did like it. So I love Becca highlighters, both the powder and the liquid. Opal's a little bit too dark for me to wear as like a true highlight. It kind of casts a shadow on me just a little bit. The mini sizes are great too for a highlighter like that. Lasted me a while, and I think use most of it up before I ended up decluttering it at some point. And I actually love the Becca liquid highlighter, so they actually have gotten kind of hard to find. Ulta and Sephora don't carry them anymore. I think you can still get some of the shades directly from Becca's website, but they made it difficult to find, which is unfortunate because I have bought 3 since then of the full-size Becca liquid highlighters. So I've had Champagne Pop, I've had Moonstone, and the giant liquid highlighters. And what I like to do with these is put them under my foundation as like an overall kind of super glowy look. I like super dewy skin, so that might be a lot for some people, but I really like the way it looked, and I do that all the time. So I'm actually super sad that this one's kind of like getting through itself. And I'm kind of getting through this one a little bit now because I love it and it's gonna be more difficult to find. I don't know about you guys, but I struggle with like, I mean, for like an indie or smaller brand, I'll do it, but for like a big brand like this, I don't want to have to go to their website versus just getting it at Sephora or Ulta. Returns are easier, everything's just easier, and like, I don't know, maybe I'll break down and do it for this though, honestly. I haven't seen those little kits, I don't think, or I just haven't been looking for them since I have plenty of full-size highlighters and the full size of the liquid that I love. But I think even for the $20, that was worth it, and I would do it again. So next, in September of 2016, I bought the Naked Ultimate Basics palette, which I do like and I have used quite a bit. It's a good like array of matte shades, I think. Honestly, I think my issue with this is that a lot of the shades kind of blend together. They're not super pigmented, so like all of these kind of look the same. These two on the eyes essentially look the same. So like, it just seems like bigger than it maybe needed to be, and I liked just the regular Naked Basics palettes, the little one. There was like a warmer tone one and then the cooler tone one. I had the cooler tone one for a long while that I used most of the shades of. I ended up giving it to my sister too because she liked one of the shades in the Naked 2 Basics for her eyebrows, like as a brow powder. So she went through that shade completely, and then I ended up just giving her the little palette, but it's a good one. I honestly prefer my Too Faced matte chocolate chip palette. I had both the white chocolate and the matte chocolate chip because I thought they were so cute and weedle, but I've decluttered the white chocolate chip because the shades were just not really like, it was cute, but they weren't really shades I was going to use a ton. But the matte chocolate chip, I wore those crease shades on my wedding day. They are much more pigmented, much more buttery, and it's super compact and awesome. Let me grab it actually. Okay, so here it is. It's like super small, like the size of my hand, and the shades are like the size of the pad of my finger other than the matte vanilla shade. But I've used this a ton and I love it. The shade differentiation is much better. There's a lot more contrast. The shades work better on my skin tone. They're more pigmented, more buttery. So if you were gonna decide, do they still sell this? I don't actually know if they still sell this, but I really, really love it. And if I had to choose between the Naked Ultimate Basics or the mini matte chocolate chip one, I would absolutely go with this one. So this would probably not be a thing that if I had it to do over, I would buy again. Next, the Makeup Forever foundation stick. I had it in Y215, which is the like yellow toned lightest shade in that line. I got it in November of 2016. Did I say that already? Anyway, it was way too pink actually, which I was surprised for it being like the yellow half of that line, how pink it was on me, but it looked ridiculous once it dried down like against my neck. It did not work, which I kind of, for a while I was wearing super yellow tone foundations because I'm kind of like I'm definitely don't have like a cool pink undertone. I tend to lean a little bit more yellow, golden, olive, but still fair, which is kind of hard to find shades for. Beige foundations often tend to work on me. Neutral foundations sometimes are way too like peachy and they look pink on me also. But yeah, the shade was just all wrong. So I think I ended up returning that one actually because you know how it is when you go in and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna like shade match myself in the store, it'll be great, and then you are a dummy and you don't get a sample and then you wear it for a little while and you look at yourself very closely in natural light and you're like, what in the world was I thinking? This does not work. Because for whatever reason, you think makeup store lighting would be some of the best lighting ever because you're trying to color match things in there. But it always sucks. So, yeah, the formula was pretty good. I mean, it had decent coverage. It was a little bit like transfer-y from what I remember and would kind of like stay sticky and wet, which I don't like. Like, I don't want to have to like hold my phone up to my ear and then when I pull it away it's like covered in makeup. That grosses me out so bad. But yeah, so returned it, wouldn't buy it again. Okay, so the last product. I skipped one more May 2016 purchase. I was like, I told you, I was losing my mind in May of 2016 with the Sephora purchases. But I got the Naked 3 palette, which so at the time I did like it. The shades kind of blend together and that there's not a lot of contrast between the shades. And I mean, really, you get like one look with that palette because it's so monotone and there's not very much contrast. And I think there's only like 2 mattes in the whole palette and none of them are dark. So that makes it really difficult to like, I feel like, get a cohesive look. I didn't keep it. I gave it to my sister in a trade or just because at some point. And actually, the reason that I bought this palette was because I made the very smart decision my freshman year of college to chop all of my hair off from when it was waist length and dye it white blonde, which fried it off, and I feel like I'm still recovering from that like 5 years later. But at that time, before I did that, pretty much all of the eyeshadow I wore was like warm orange brown because I watched YouTube and that's what you did. But I felt like with the platinum hair, it made my hair look brassy, which again, I mean, in hindsight, I think people who wear orange eyeshadow and have platinum hair look great, so that was completely in my head, but I thought I needed to have pink eyeshadow to make it work, so that's why I bought it. And then when I dyed it back shortly later and regretted all of my life decisions, I didn't really wear it that much anymore, so I wouldn't get that one again, because I decluttered it. I'll put up a picture of the platinum hair. It was not good. Everyone told me not to do it too. I don't know why I make these self-destructive decisions. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was really fun to kind of go down memory lane and look at some of the products that I bought and like evaluate my life choices and kind of just reflect on where they are now and whether I would buy them again. I have made some questionable makeup choices and my tastes have definitely evolved over time quite a bit. And I'm sure they'll continue to evolve. And in 5 years, I'll look back on the makeup I wear all the time now and be like. But yeah, so if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know down below if you'd like to see another one like this and what your like old Sephora purchases look like. I'd be interested to know. Be sure to subscribe so you can catch my new videos. I post every Tuesday and Friday. And yeah, that's it for today and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye guys.